Imagine you've been waiting 20 years for something. Not 20 days, not 20 months, 20 years. 2 full decades of watching other clubs lift the trophy you've dreamed about. 2 decades of maybe next year. 2 decades of coming close and falling short. Now imagine that after all that waiting, the moment has finally arrived. May 30th, 2026, Budapest, Hungary, the Puskás Arena. 67,000 people inside the stadium, hundreds of millions watching around the world. And your club, is walking out for the UEFA Champions League Final. That is the reality facing Arsenal Football Club in 20 days' time. On the other side of that pitch, Paris Saint-Germain, the defending European champions, the team that didn't just win the Champions League last season, they won it by destroying Inter Milan 5-0 in the final. 5 goals in a Champions League final. A statement so emphatic it felt like a warning to the rest of Europe. PSG came back this season with 44 goals in the competition. 44. They have been the most devastating attacking force in European football, and they are standing between Arsenal and the most prestigious trophy in club football. This is the final everyone wanted. The empire versus the underdog. The defending champions versus the team that has waited a generation. And in this video, we are breaking down everything. How did these two clubs get here? What happened along the way? Who are the players that made it possible? And what, as always on this channel, does the Simpsons have to say about all of it? Welcome to part 1. This is the road to Budapest. Before we get into the stories, let's make sure everyone understands what we're talking about. Because if you don't follow football closely, the Champions League can seem complicated. It isn't. And once you understand the stakes, this final becomes even more extraordinary. The UEFA Champions League is the most prestigious club football competition on the planet. Every season, the best clubs from across Europe, from England, Spain, France, Germany, Italy, and beyond, compete for the right to be called European champions. Think of it this way. Imagine the best basketball franchise from every country in the world competing in one giant tournament. That's the Champions League, except for football. And the passion, the money, and the history involved make it unlike anything else in sport. This season, 36 clubs entered the competition. They played a league phase, where every team faced multiple opponents. Then came the knockout rounds, round of 16. Quarterfinals, semifinals, and now the final. One match, 90 minutes. Winner takes everything. The trophy itself, the iconic silver cup with the large handles, is one of the most recognizable objects in world sport. Winning it doesn't just make you European champions, it puts your club's name in history forever. The prize. Beyond the trophy, the winning club receives 25 million euros in prize money, just for the final stage alone. Both finalists receive 18.5 million euros simply for reaching Budapest, with an additional 6.5 million for the winners. The financial rewards are enormous. Why this final matters more than most? 2 reasons. First, PSG is attempting something that only one club has ever achieved in the modern Champions League era, winning back-to-back titles. Real Madrid did it 3 times in a row between 2016 and 2018. Nobody else has successfully defended the title since the competition took its current format. PSG is trying to join the most exclusive club in football history. Second, Arsenal haven't been in a Champions League final since 2006. They lost that final to Barcelona. In the 20 years since, the club has rebuilt, struggled, and rebuilt again. An entire generation of Arsenal supporters has grown up never seeing their club on the biggest stage in European football. Until now.
To understand what this final means for Arsenal, you need to understand what this club has been through. Arsenal are one of the most famous football clubs in the world. Based in North London, they have one of the largest fan bases on the planet. Their history stretches back to 1886. They have won the English League title 13 times. They have won the FA Cup 14 times, more than any other club in history. But the Champions League? That trophy has always been just out of reach. Their closest moment came in 2006. They reached the final in Paris, facing Barcelona. They went ahead with a goal early in the second half, and then, in the cruelest way, it fell apart. They had a player sent off. Barcelona scored twice. Arsenal lost 2-1. They haven't been back since. For 20 years, Arsenal fans have watched Real Madrid win it, Barcelona win it, Bayern Munich win it, Liverpool win it, Manchester City win it, Chelsea win it, Inter Milan win it, PSG win it. Never Arsenal. Enter Mikel Arteta. In 2019, Arsenal appointed a 37-year-old Spanish coach with no previous managerial experience to lead the club. His name? Mikel Arteta. He had been a player at Arsenal earlier in his career. He knew the club. He loved the club. And he had a vision for what it could become. The early years were difficult. Rebuilding takes time. But season by season, Arteta constructed something special. A team with identity, a team with structure, a team with genuine quality at every position. And this season, in the Champions League, that team showed exactly what it was capable of. 14 games, 0 defeats. Throughout the entire 2025-26 Champions League campaign, Arsenal did not lose a single match. 14 games, not one defeat. That is not luck. That is not fortune. That is a team operating at the absolute peak of their powers. Beating Real Madrid, the statement moment. Every great Champions League run has a defining moment, a result that announces to the world, we are genuinely here. For Arsenal this season, that moment was beating Real Madrid in the quarterfinals. Real Madrid, the club with 15 Champions League titles, the club that has dominated European football for over a century. The club that, in recent years, has made a habit of eliminating everyone who gets in their way. Manchester City, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Chelsea. Nobody could stop them. Arsenal stopped them. It wasn't lucky. It wasn't fortunate. Arsenal outplayed them, outthought them, and advanced. After that result, nobody in Europe was dismissing Arsenal anymore. The semi-final. 1 goal, 1 moment, 1 man. Arsenal's semi-final opponents were Atletico Madrid, managed by Diego Simeone, one of the most tactically ruthless coaches in European football. His teams are famous for being almost impossible to break down. Low block, defensive organization, physical intensity, grinding results. This was going to be painful. And it was. The match was tight. Both teams cautious. Chances were rare. And then, late in the first half, it happened. Leandro Trossard hit a shot. The goalkeeper got a hand on it. The ball fell loose. And Bukayo Saka was there. 1 touch. Goal. 1-0. That was the only goal of the match. Arsenal held on. They are in the final. Who is Bukayo Saka? If you don't follow football, you need to know this story. Because Bukayo Saka's journey is one of the most moving narratives in modern sport. He is 24 years old. He was born and raised in London. He has supported Arsenal his entire life. He joined the club's academy at the age of 7. In the summer of 2021, England reached the final of the European Championship, their first major tournament final in 55 years. The match went to penalties. 3 players missed. The third of those players, the youngest, the one given the most pressure, was Bukayo Saka. He was 19 years old. He missed. England lost. And then, in the hours and days that followed, Saka was subjected to horrific racial abuse online. A teenager, for missing a penalty in a football match. He came back. He kept playing. He kept performing. He got better and better. Season after season, he has been Arsenal's most important player. And now, in the Champions League semi-final, it is Bukayo Saka who scores the goal that sends Arsenal to Budapest. Football writes stories that no screenwriter would dare submit.
Now let's talk about the other side of this final. Because if Arsenal's story is about waiting, hunger, and redemption, PSG's story is about something very different. It's about dominance. Paris Saint-Germain were founded in 1970. For most of their history, they were a solid French club, occasionally winning domestic trophies, occasionally making noise in Europe, but never truly challenging for the very top of the continental game. That changed in 2011, when the club was purchased by Qatar Sports Investments. With essentially unlimited financial backing, PSG began assembling one of the most expensive squads in football history. They signed Zlatan Ibrahimovic, then David Beckham, then Edinson Cavani, then David Luiz, then Angel Di Maria, then Marco Verratti, and then, in the summer of 2017, they made the 2 most expensive transfers in football history in the same window. Neymar from Barcelona for €222 million, and then Kylian Mbappe from Monaco for €180 million. For years, PSG had every ingredient for Champions League success, except the trophy itself. They reached the final in 2020 and lost to Bayern Munich. They kept getting knocked out in the quarterfinals and semifinals. The trophy refused to come. And then, last season, everything changed. 2025, PSG finally win it. In May 2025, PSG faced Inter Milan in the Champions League Final, and they were extraordinary. 5 goals, 0 conceded. A 5-0 victory that wasn't just a win, it was a statement. PSG had finally conquered Europe. And this season, under manager Luis Enrique, they came back determined to do it again. 44 goals, the most dangerous attack in Europe. PSG's attacking output this season has been staggering. 44 goals in the Champions League campaign, 5 goals against Chelsea in the quarterfinals, 6 goals against Bayern Munich across the semi-final tie. They don't just beat opponents, they overwhelm them. The key players driving this: Ousmane Dembélé, the French winger who has been one of the most electric players in Europe this season. Direct, fast, unpredictable, a constant threat. Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, the Georgian forward who joined PSG in the January 2025 transfer window and immediately became one of their most important attackers. Creative, skillful, dangerous in tight spaces. Vitinha, the Portuguese midfielder who controls the tempo of PSG's play. calm on the ball, intelligent in his movement, constantly making the right decision. João Neves, young, energetic, relentless, one of the best young midfielders in world football. Marquinhos, the captain, the leader, 11 years at PSG, one of the most respected defenders in Europe, a man who has seen everything this club has been through and is now trying to lead them to back-to-back European titles. And in goal, Matvei Safonov, who stepped up in crucial moments throughout the campaign, making saves that kept PSG alive when they needed it most. The semi-final, surviving Bayern Munich. PSG's semi-final against Bayern Munich was not comfortable. Bayern are one of the great clubs of European football. They pushed PSG hard across both legs. The aggregate score was 6-4 to PSG. 4 goals conceded. They had to work for it, but they got through. And the reaction from the football world told you everything. Even Harry Kane, the England captain who plays for Bayern Munich, admitted after the tie, "In my opinion, PSG are slightly favorites in the final. When your opponent's own star player says you're the better team, you're doing something right." Here's something that makes this final even more fascinating. Arsenal and PSG are not strangers. Their first competitive meeting came in the 1993-94 UEFA Cup Winners' Cup semi-finals. Arsenal won that tie and went on to lift the trophy. It remains Arsenal's last European title. Then, in the 2024-25 Champions League, the clubs met twice in the league phase. Arsenal won the first meeting 2-0 at the Emirates Stadium, goals from Kai Havertz and Bukayo Saka. But then came the semi-finals. PSG eliminated Arsenal over 2 legs. Dembele scored. Fabian Ruiz scored. PSG won 3-1 on aggregate. So, Arsenal know what it feels like to be knocked out by PSG at this exact stage. That pain is recent. It was only last season. And PSG know what it feels like to beat Arsenal when it matters most. This final is not just between 2 clubs. It is between 2 clubs with a specific, recent, unfinished history. Arsenal want revenge. PSG want to prove last year was no accident.
And now, the part you've been waiting for. The Simpsons. The show has been running since 1989. 37 seasons, hundreds of episodes, and over those decades, it has somehow managed to reference, parody, and occasionally predict an almost impossible number of real-world events. Football is no exception. The Simpsons has covered football culture, corrupt governing bodies, obsessive fans, and the beautiful chaos of the sport itself across multiple episodes. But here's what's interesting about this specific final. The Simpsons has always been fascinated by one fundamental story: the little guy against the system, the underdog against the empire, the person, or team, who has been told they can't, trying to prove that they can. Arsenal. 20 years without a final. A fan base that has waited a generation. A manager who rebuilt everything from scratch. A young player who was racially abused for missing a penalty and came back to score the goal that sends his club to Budapest. That is a Simpsons episode. And PSG? The wealthy, powerful, resource-rich empire. The team that has spent more money than almost any club in history. The defending champions. The favorites. The establishment. That's also a Simpsons episode. The question the Simpsons would ask is the same question the whole world is asking. Does the underdog get their moment? Or does the empire strike back? Homer Simpson would probably pick Arsenal. He always roots for the underdog. But Bart Simpson would probably pick PSG, because Bart respects anyone who dominates. We'll find out on May 30th which Simpson was right. That's part 1. The road to Budapest. 2 clubs. 2 completely different stories. 1 final. In part 2, we're going deeper. The individual player matchups that could decide this trophy. The tactical battle between Mikel Arteta and Luis Enrique. The key moments to watch for on the night. And of course, our prediction. But before part 2, I want to hear from you. Who do you think wins? PSG or Arsenal? Drop it in the comments right now. I'm going to read every single one, and we'll see how the community is split heading into the final. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. It helps more people find this content. Subscribe if you're new. We're covering every angle of this Champions League final right up to kickoff on May 30th. Part 2 is coming very soon. See you there.